I now wish to invite the Honorable R.N. Order, honorable members, order. Honorable M.H. Hoosen to the podium.
Honorable Speaker, our condolences go out to the families who have lost their loved ones through this very, very tragic incident. And the participation of these young men in this initiation school should have marked the transition from boyhood to manhood, but instead it has had yet another very tragic end. Initiation schools, by their very nature, are intended to serve as a service to our society as traditional leaders prepare young boys for adulthood and use the opportunity to mentor young men to become responsible sons and fathers. It is tragic that every year, without fail, we hear about so many young men who lose their lives through sheer negligence while in the care of irresponsible community leaders. The exploitation of young men and their families is becoming more and more prevalent, and some criminals have turned this honorable practice into a money-making racket. Not only is this criminal, but also a shame and an attack on the integrity of this age-old and honorable cultural practice. The recent incident in Mpumalanga, for example, where these young men lost their lives under very tragic circumstances, is yet another reminder that we are failing in providing the necessary support, and we are not adequately attending to the risk that young men face, especially in rural areas. Honourable Speaker, almost every death recorded at initiation schools happen as a result of inadequate healthcare or negligence. The only solutions, therefore, are to increase the reach for adequate training, making more medically trained personnel available to assist initiation schools, and stricter enforcement of unregistered initiation schools where leaders are exploiting this tradition for personal gain. Traditional leaders must also own this cultural practice and play a much more active role in ensuring that these schools and male circumcision is conducted in a manner that does not put the lives of young children at risk. Fathers must also play a more active role in our society and take their responsibilities much more seriously. Honourable Speaker, this is an important and honourable tradition which must be protected at all costs. We must do whatever it takes to rescue this cultural practice from the hands of criminals. Although young men can access free circumcision at public hospitals, there is still much work to be done to make the service more accessible. We must recognize that hundreds of thousands of men have received the service at no cost whatsoever at many of our public institutions. We would have had many more deaths in our hands if this were not the case. But we must also address on an urgent basis the long waiting lists in many hospitals across the country. The waiting list in Limpopo Hospital, for example, runs into several months with up to 2,000 people on the waiting list for circumcision. I note that at the same time there has been several deaths which have occurred also in the Limpopo province. This poses a massive problem and contributes towards the desperation of young men who want to make the transition to adulthood. If we don't take urgent and decisive action to stem this exploitation in our country and provide adequate medically trained personnel, we should not react with the shock in this House that we have done today. Thank you very much.
I thank the honourable member.